Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Stencil Saturday Design. So this week we're going to change it up a little bit. We are still going to work with the Hourglass Stencil. So we're going to use the Hourglass Stencil again, which is this one. And then we're going to combine that with another stencil this time. So we're going to use my Lines and Grids Stencil. So let me grab my fabric here, get that centered up here so you'll be able to see it. And I have my pounce pad, and I did have a few people write to me and ask. I'm using the Ultimate Pounce Powder in my pounce pad. So what I'm going to do first is go ahead and just mark lines on this entire square. And see if I can kind of somehow line it up here so they're straight. And that looks about good. So I'm just gonna give my pounce pad a couple of taps. So one key too with the pounce pad is that it's really important not to let the pounce pad, the stencil move while you mark it. So I like to just put my hand on there and kind of try to keep it really steady. And instead of like scrubbing in all different directions, I kind of want to go just directly away. And wow, that pounce pad is way full of chalk. We're going to have really good lines on this baby. Okay, so that's the straight lines. Hopefully you'll be able to see these in the camera. We're done with that stencil. And then we're going to pull in this Hourglass stencil again. And what I want to do is use the ones oriented this direction. No, I don't. I want these ones. Sorry. And you can see, I don't know if you can see it actually on the camera, but these are, I want to say 4 inches. So they line up perfectly. And there are dots on this line stencil. So I'm able to line it up pretty easily. I mean, you can see through these stencils pretty well. So what I want to do is just kind of randomly place these, and I am going to, let me see, I'm going to line up on the edge here, and then I'm going to shift it so that these dots, not that it really matters, but just so that I know I'm keeping it straight. And then I'm just going to mark this one, and usually I'll just use the corner of the pounce. So I can, and I'm holding the stencil really nice and firm so I don't let it move. I like to keep a couple of fingers over on my table so it doesn't shift. Make sure I got the corners good. And then I'm just going to slide this over. That's what it looks like. I'm just going to slide this over and do it again. Maybe, I don't know, I just randomly place them. I kind of like when things look really random. So let's slide it about to there. And again, I'm going to line those lines up. You can see here, and I'm going to shift it down, and I can see that these dots of the line stencil are in this row. This one has chalk under it, so that's lined up. And again, I'm just going to mark this shape. I really just need those V's, is what I need. Okay, and that should be perfect. Now you could put more, but once you see stitching the design and you see the result that we're going to get, then that's what you can decide if you want to do more of these shapes in there or not. Okay, so that's how I just wanted you to be able to see on this particular one, since we're using 2 stencils, how exactly I marked it and lined it up. So I'm going to go ahead and base this square onto my machine and show you how to stitch it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I basted my square down, and I just wanted to give you a little, so one thing I am going to do, if you look right here, you'll notice that that was where the space in the stencil was. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark those in so I remember. I'm going to do it in each corner. Doesn't need to be precise or anything. Okay, and then the one thing, I just want to kind of explain what we're going to do before I do it. So we're going to stitch we're going to stitch down these lines. Then when we come to this line, we're going to follow it in until our hopping foot is centered between these two lines, and then we're going to stitch down. When we get to this line again, we're going to go back out and continue. And we're going to do that on each one. And what it does is once your markings are gone, the illusion and the texture is really cool, and you'll have like these hidden shapes that show up in the texture of your quilting. And it's really quick to stitch. It's just marking the lines in there so you have a guide to follow. So let me move the camera up just a little bit here so that you can see better what I'm stitching. And I'm going to go ahead and just start at the top up here. And these lines are 1/2-inch lines. And let me change my stitches. Grab my ruler here. And we're just going to stitch right down this line. Now, when I come to this line, what I want to do is follow that line until my hopping foot is centered. See how it's now centered between these two lines? So that's technically, that's at a 1/4 inch. So now I'm just going to stitch down right in the middle of those two lines until I hit this next line. Then I'm going to use my ruler and travel back to the original line and finish that one. I'm going to repeat that now for every line. So I'm going to stitch up until I hit that diagonal stencil line. I'm going to stitch over until my hopping foot's in the center, and then follow that up to the line, the next line. Stop, travel back to the original line, and up. And I'm just going to do that now on every line. It's going to change a little bit when we get to the center, but not a lot. Here, hopping foot's in between those, down, back over, and down. That line in the center. Next line, go back to that. Now you'll notice that this center line, as I come to it, it doesn't have anywhere that I need to shift because it is the center. So I am just going to follow right through the center on that side. Now, on this side, we're going to do the same thing, just the opposite direction. So when I come to this diagonal line, I'm going to go this way to the left until I'm between the two lines. Follow that up. And then go back to the line. So it's the same thing, it's just the opposite direction. Center, down, once you get the kind of movement of it, it becomes pretty quick. Center, down, and down. Now this next line, there is, we're not to the next shape yet, so this one's, this one's just going to be straight back up to the top. And we're going to start doing this again. So now we're going to come down, come to this shape, move to the center, this thing is just not getting confused, I guess, when you come to the center where the two angles are coming in. Into the center of the two lines. Up. Back in. Up. And then this is going to be the last one on this side. To the center. This line goes all the way through. So this is a really neat thing because, I know, a lot of modern quilts anyways, you do a lot of lines. They work really well with modern quilts. So, and I love the look of straight line quilting, but this is really, a way to kind of give yours a little extra oomph, change it up, adds this interest, and you'll see what I mean when you see the texture it makes. It's almost like there's these little hidden shapes in there, down to this line, into the center, follow it down, back to our line. One more. Center. And we're done. So it doesn't take too terribly long. And you have all the lines to follow, which is nice. You don't have to worry too much about lining rulers up with a particular line or anything. You're just actually stitching the lines. They're marked there for you. And I know it's probably hard to see the actual quilting of it. Let's try the light thing and see if that helps at all. A little bit. You can kind of see how the lines shift. And that's kind of the fun thing about lines is that once you, if you doodle and play around with some stitching with lines, you get these neat shifting kind of like ghost shapes. And it's where the lines change direction. And when you start to doodle and understand how to make those be where you want them to be, you can get some really neat designs. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this design, and I will see you next week. Bye.